Oh baby, oh baby, I am who I am. My name is my name. Welcome into another episode of Shooting the Shit with Sands. So, I know it looked like I went missing because the Heat lost the finals. That is not true. I actually got COVID for the first time. Like I got it before, but it was some weak shit. It was hitting me with jabs. It wasn't really. We were sparring. This time I got into a championship bout with this bitch. This Asian motherfucker came in the crib and started stomping me out, like came back for vengeance on my ass. And I was out for like 10 days. I was donezo, and then the finals were over, and I really wasn't emotional. And because I was sick during game 4, I'm just going in and out of consciousness during the game, which really turned the series, made it 3-1. It was over. We ain't got LeBron, we ain't got Kyrie, yada yada. Also, I don't know where my teeth are. So now I talked all that shit about my retainer, like making my teeth look a whole different color, making it look really yellow. I don't know if y'all remember Dirk's mouthpiece. Dirk's mouthpiece made him look like he never brushed his teeth. That's what that retainer does to me, but it broke. So I lost it, and I don't know where it's at. And you're like, Hunter, wait, how could you lose teeth? Right? How did you lose some teeth? Are you a 6-year-old child trying to get money from the Tooth Fairy? No, I am not. I am simply a grown man who isn't. I'm 28 and I'm not responsible. I accept my flaws, though, right? And so does my bad-ass, sexy-ass woman, right? I don't know why I have to defend every flaw in me saying my girlfriend's hot. Not a good trait of mine. But I will say, I don't know what happened to it. I'm pretty sure I was probably eating some tacos, some street tacos or something. I threw it in the foil, like on the styrofoam. I'll pop it open and then put the teeth there so I always see it. But I probably had some Delta 9 gummies or something. Ate some tacos and threw that bitch away, and my teeth are gone. Now, is it hard talking to people like this? I don't know. I've forgotten. I just need implants. And during COVID, this is how horrible my life is. So I get braces for 10 years. Right? I swear to God, you can go to my mom's house. Most of y'all that listen to this podcast know where my mom lives. You can go ask her. They brought me in 4 different times and told me they were taking my braces off. And I told them the day before my high school graduation, I said this. I was an 18-year-old. You can believe me or not. I don't care. I said, hey, if y'all don't take my braces off, I'm going to blow this bitch up. I swear. I said, I literally was like, but I was mad. I wasn't joking. Like, I was dead ass. He kept saying, oh, the space got too small. Now we got to widen it. Okay, now it's too wide. We got to, bruh, pick one. Pick one. Okay? So, we go and get the surgeries. I have 4 mouth surgeries. All right? I look insane. My jaw looks like I have an Ed, and Eddie fucking jawbreaker in my mouth. Right? Then, COVID hits, and I can't get my last surgery for over a year and a half. And then, I moved to Louisiana 8 hours away from my surgeon with no job because I got laid off. We've gone through this whole thing with Nia. I'm just saying, terrible luck on my part, right? Terrible luck. But hey, I'm accepting the look, right? I'm from Texarkana. There's a lot of crackhead hillbillies. I'll play the role, all right? I'll Johnny Depp this bitch. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. It is what it is. I'm still fine as hell. I'm not, like, look at me. And with COVID, guess what happened, bro? I'm trying to get under 200 pounds, right? And y'all are saying, Hunter, but you look incredible. When you were 230, I wanted to smash. I was about to say my homie said that. Wild. The ladies were saying you're still hot. They didn't say that. They saw the quadruple chin I had. But I got down to like 210 now. I lost like 7 pounds on COVID. I'm about 4 or 5 pounds away from my goal weight. Really, I'm 8 pounds. I want to get into 195, but hey, I look incredible right now. About 28 is when you start losing it, right? 24, 25 really is when you start losing your bod. I've never had a real bod. I've stayed neutral. I'm just trying to maintain. So now all you swole motherfuckers at the party, you're looking good. You're looking great, right? You're looking amazing. You're chiseled. You're swole. But when y'all start having kids, you start having a wife. I've been in a relationship for 3 years, and I didn't get the relationship weight. I did not. I have not. Right? Because how fine she is, there I go again, she motivates me. She motivates me to stay in shape, man. And that's just a fact. Y'all are going to start going to parties when you're 40, and I'm going to be looking better. I'm going to be looking better. And I had my face struck. I look like I'm 22. I'm aging like this box wine, bro. Aging gracefully on the shelf. Long shelf life. Anyways, that's the first 5 minutes of the pod. Here's what we're going to talk about today. How about this? One, the fantasy football content, I'm actually pissed I got put on hold because of the sickness I got. It is what it is. I'm going to pump out fantasy content a lot. So I'm not really worried about that. Mostly there's some, stagnant shit going on with the NBA. And after the draft, you really start seeing shit open up because team needs and things of that nature. So we'll get a lot of signings, even though there's not a lot of really high quality free agents out there. I still think there are some impact players that could affect some teams, but I'm not going to go over that until we get to the point where everybody's getting signed and all that shit, right? Or trades or whatever. But today we're going to talk about the Bradley Beal trade. We're going to talk about the CP trade to Golden State. What went on with Jordan Poole in that Golden State situation, which I thought was very odd to me. Something happened in the playoffs there where it didn't seem right. And then we're going to talk about some expectations for the Heat during the offseason very quickly. It's nothing crazy. And then I'm going to talk about what does Scoot actually mean for Dame and Portland? Because I think there's a lot of interesting factors there. I don't know. There's a lot of things where, like the CJ McCollum and him situation, how are you going to run a team with 2'6" guards? Things like that. So we're going to get into that today. And guess what? Let's start the show. What is up, everybody? I am here. We're talking basketball, man. So let's just get into the trade. All right. So we're going to the Bradley Beal trade first. We'll talk about the CP trade, what this means for Jordan Poole and stuff like that. I think it's a very weird situation in Golden State, mostly with the Chris Paul addition. But Bradley Beal trade. Bradley Beal goes to Phoenix for Bradley Beal, Isaiah Todd, and Jordan Goodwin. If you know who those guys are and you think I don't know ball because I don't know who those guys are, okay, cool. I don't know who Isaiah Sweeney Todd is. That's fine. And then Washington, what they get, right? So initially you look and you go, okay, they got Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and a lot of second-round picks. That's what the initial deal was, and you're kind of like, what the fuck? Bradley Beal, we may not look at Bradley Beal as this superstar, but he's worth way more than that. He's a bucket. Bradley Beal is a certified bucket. That is not debatable. But he goes to the Phoenix Suns, and Washington gets the second round picks for 2024, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 30. Then they get 4 pick swaps in 2024, 2026, 2028, and 2030. Now, a pick swap is what it looks like, right? The definition is, you can swap picks with a team that's higher than you, right? So if Phoenix, let's say, this is why it's important, though, because let's say Phoenix, how long do you think KD has left? I'm not a KD guy. I'm not. I'll get into KD in a second, but how long do you think KD has left? What is he, 34, 35? So in 2028, do you think KD is going to be an elite player? In 2026, how good do you think the Suns are? Because I know Devin Booker is, he is a bona fide superstar. I think he's amazing. I know Dallas fans shit on him or whatever, but he is a bona fide superstar. He's going to be incredible his whole career. He's going to be averaging 27 to 30 plus every year for the rest of his career. And I think he's an amazing player. I'm not saying they're going to be tanking in 2026, but mostly with KD's past and asking for trades, like when it goes bad, how do we know? How do we know he's going to stay? And you can sit there and go, dude, KD, all these KD defenders come out when I start shitting on them. in my text messages when they listen to my podcast. Dude, I hate to tell y'all, man, KD ain't like that. We're going to get to him. God, I want to talk about it so bad. But that's why those are important. Those first round swaps is if Washington ends up going 500 or something and they're 10 or 12 in the draft and Phoenix is purely just dog shit in 2027, 2028, you're looking at one of those top picks, and that's very important. And then CP gets traded and to the Wizards, and you knew he wasn't going to stay there. CP's in a point of his career, and he always has been. He's not going to play for a shitty team. Now in OKC, I think he looked at it in a different light where he was like, I'm with a bunch of young guys. I can teach these guys a lot, and I can hoop and show my value. Because when Chris Paul gets traded to OKC, it almost felt like he's an old guy going there to let his career die almost. You know what I mean? It was almost, we looked at it like Chris Paul was just a wily veteran that was gritty. Like, no, bro. Chris Paul is still, in 2023, a very good basketball player. I don't think he's some top-of-the-line echelon point guard or anything. I think he's a very good player, though. I think his IQ and his passing and his mid-range ability and his pick-and-roll manipulation is enough to trade for him and be a valuable piece to a team. But I just think when he went to OKC, we looked at it so negatively instead of looking at it like he could do something there. And you couldn't predict him winning 50 games with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, he won basically 50 games, man. Like, dude's a dog. And then the Washington Wizards get CP3, Shamet, and Cash. Now, let's talk about the fit here, right? The fit with Bradley Beal is great. I think they needed this. Because in that playoff series against the Nuggets, you know, we talked a lot of shit about Josh Okogie. Right? We kind of shit on him a lot for being a guy that couldn't shoot. But how did they treat Chris Paul? They treated Chris Paul like he was a dude that couldn't shoot, which he's not a consistent three-point shooter. They kind of knew, hey, the way this series is going, KD and Booker are going to have the ball in their hands at all times. But what is CP good? Like, CP, what does he bring off ball? Like, you know, we talk about a lot of shit. Like, we shit on Harden for sitting there at the elbow, like 35 feet away from the basketball. Chris Paul is out here dribbling around and stuff, but we never talked about Chris Paul off the ball. What does Chris Paul do off the ball? And I know we're in a positionless era, but Chris Paul came up in an era where it was a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. You had a big guy that was a defensive stopper that maybe could finish around the rim. You had a 4 that was athletic, had a little post game, maybe a mid-range. You had a 3 that was super athletic, could defend anybody on the court, maybe could shoot, right? And I know he isn't that old where he's playing in the 90s, but people have to realize that in 2010, people like Matt Barnes, he was a good shooter later in his career, those guys were like assets in 2010, 2011. These perimeter defenders who have basically no offensive game were assets in the early 2010s. I think we forget that. Do you know what I mean? And then you'd have a 2 guard who was either a shooter, a sniper, or just an all-out hooper. So that's what he grew up in. Now we have this weird Phoenix situation, right, where you don't have positions. Who's the point guard? Like, bro, we don't need point guards. We got Devin Booker, who averages 30 a night, that can average 6 assists and 6 rebounds. KD, who is a unselfish player, who can average 30 he can average 30 in his sleep, right? And Bradley Beal is a third option who I think will thrive in that because I think he is built to be a first or second option, as in mentally on a championship team. He just isn't up there with those elite guys being an alpha on a team skill-wise. It's just, for a championship team, it's just not there. It's like a Jimmy Butler thing, but I think Jimmy Butler is obviously better than Bradley Beal. For instance, if I think like Jimmy Butler went to Dallas and he was the 2 and Kyrie wasn't there, I think they're championship contenders instantly. But yeah, I think Bradley Beal is going to thrive in this role of, okay, so we're focusing in on KD and Booker. they're going to get a lot of ISOs, we think, right? With Ayton out there and all that. I think Ayton has to get moved. I know they fired the coach. I know they fired Monty Williams. Very respected person in the NBA. I've said this 100 times, and he had beef with him. Like, DeAndre Ayton had beef with Monty Williams, who, if you go even look, just look up players talking on Monty Williams on, like, YouTube, there is not a negative word said. Not one. And I know Bill Simmons talks about it, which is so funny. I talk about this all the time. Like when I was explaining the first round swaps, it may seem obvious to a lot of people, but Bill Simmons talks about the new owner syndrome, right? That's what he says. And I'm 28, right? I'm 28. I'm a little older, and I go, that makes sense. You know, it's not that I heard it the first time here, but like probably when I was 25, I heard, you know, he's a new owner. He's going crazy. The way that these new NBA fans, these young guys have all this information, or young women have this information at their hands to know what a first round swap is, to know how the salary cap works and the CBA and all that shit in layman's terms. It's like, that's kind of crazy. Because I didn't have that information. Like, I didn't really know what a pick swap was, even though it's so obvious. I didn't know what a pick swap was or draft capital in the NBA, really the NFL, and that does depend on the GM, the coach, and all the organization, but and the rebuild and all that. But it's just, I didn't know what this shit was, and now I realize, like, yeah, there is new owner syndrome, new GM syndrome as well, with the operations behind the scenes. And I think it's so fun. He's just going all out. So you think, okay, so Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are going to get a lot of ISOs with Ayton down there and Bradley Beal. That's not really how it works a lot of the time. It's just, you really think something's going to happen that isn't. Now, I will say they have 3 top tier elites. Go get a bucket, guys. And I always say this, with great players, we don't break down the nuances in their game. For instance, Kyrie Irving is a sniper from 3, and he's not talked about in the Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. And I know they're 2 of the top 5 3-point shooters of all time, but I'm saying, like, nothing gets talked about Kyrie other than his handle, really, in this all-time great sense, when he's all-time great on offense everywhere. Like, Kyrie Irving's one of the best shooters I've ever seen. Kyrie Irving is one of the best dribblers, one of the best finishers. Like, we don't break down the nuances of their game. We just go, they're great, they have a bag, they can score. You know what I mean? And I think with these guys, you're looking at 3 guys who can shoot 40% plus from 3, but where is your depth? And I said depth doesn't matter in the playoffs, but there is levels, right? Like the Nuggets, once again, they're the definition of what I said. They're the one that chip. They 4-0'd or 4-1'd everybody, and they were running 6 deep. Well, they 4-2'd the Suns, my bad, because Devin Booker and KD went for 90,000 points in 2 games. But you get what I'm saying? It's like depth really doesn't matter, but there's a level. Like when you're starting 5 in the playoffs is going to play 36 to 40 minutes apiece, unless one's having a bad game, shit happens, whatever, right? I don't see this team being like that because, one, DeAndre Ayton ain't built like that mentally. I think he's built to be a 4th option, which is weird because he has this mentality that he's like this great center, in my opinion, that he should get the ball more, and kind of cries when shit ain't going his way. And I think he gets dealt, but with dealing DeAndre Ayton, this is like the catch-22 to shit like this, right? Because you can think what you want about DeAndre Ayton. That man was a 3rd option on a championship team who lost in 6, right? They lost in 6. And he walks around averaging 18 and 13, 18 and 12. You can think he's a bitch. You can think he's soft. You can think whatever you want. He is a very good basketball player. He is. Now, his mentality late in the season is going to fuck you. That's just, dog. The shit you saw in the Sun series, the shit you saw the year before in the Maverick series, like, that is real, and I don't know if that changes until he gets maybe a little older, or maybe it never changes. But I will say, if he gets shipped out, you're looking at, I mean, maybe getting some decent role players. But at this point for DeAndre Ayton, with how young he is, I don't know if you, what, in the NBA, we don't trade players a lot. And if we do, they're pretty even, right? Or it's this Phoenix trade where they get 3 players and Washington gets 2 players and 8 picks. Do you get what I'm saying? So I don't know if they can get a great player for DeAndre Ayton. His contract is one of the worst in basketball right now. He's due $30 million. DeAndre Ayton is due $30 million. I don't know how you trade that. I don't know how you trade that, even though I'm not saying it's impossible. I think he gets moved. I'm just saying the return on investment or the return on the trade is very bad, in my opinion, because I think if you trade him 2 years ago, but you couldn't because you're a title contender. But if you trade him 2 years ago, after the finals run, you are getting a shit ton for DeAndre Ayton. Now, his trade value, which I said it would a year ago almost, at the beginning of the season, when Devin Booker got hurt, I said, what is their future really? And then the new owner happens. They trade for KD. They get Bradley Beal. All this shit happens, so it's a whole different story. But I was thinking if you're building around DeAndre Ayton and Booker, Booker's great, amazing. Building around DeAndre Ayton isn't a good plan. That's just like, as him as your number 2 isn't going to cut it. And I'm not saying that's what he is now. I'm just saying my mentality at that point of the season when Devin Booker got, I was like, yeah, they're kind of screwed. And now you're looking, I don't know what you get for DeAndre Ayton really, because I think he's a very good player. I just don't know what you actually get for him. I think it's looking scary for the Suns if they don't get some depth, because you can stagger these guys with KD and Beal and Booker and Beal and Booker and KD and all the combinations you got. We've seen in the NBA now, I said this a year ago, and now it's a trend, and I'll bring it up. I'll post the clip. I don't get the audio clip. I told y'all the super team is dead for a while because the skill level in the NBA has risen too much, and the role players are essential. Role players are essential. Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, Michael Porter Jr., KCP, Austin Reeves, guys like Rui Hachimura, when the Lakers went to the finals, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, these guys deep on the bench are important now. We are not sitting in a league where you have 3 good players and the rest are bums. You're not looking at rosters like that unless you're looking at the Pistons, who are a young team, Magic, who are a young team, and they're not bums. They're just young and they don't know how to win yet. That shit is not going to work, man. If you have one liability in 2023, you're dead. Look at the Cavs. Look at how the Cavs worked. I know their roster construction was but they were built for the playoffs. They're built to be a hard-nosed, tough team with 2 ISO scorers, two versatile defenders down low. I know Jared Allen isn't the most versatile, but Evan Mobley's an elite defender in basketball. But you got 3 guys on the court that can't shoot threes. What are you going to do? You can't correct that. That is something that can't be played out in 2023. That's why when we start talking eras and GOAT debates and all that, you really got to look at this shit, man. This league is deeper than it's ever been. Everybody has 5 guys. Most teams have 5 guys who can hit a 3, play defense, and do something else very good. I mean, you're looking 10 years ago in 2013, there was guys out there that couldn't do anything but shoot. Couldn't do anything. Tony Allen couldn't do anything but defend. He had no other skill but defense. That is 10 years ago. That's not that long ago. I was 18. I remember that shit. That wasn't that long ago. Now you're looking at, let's look at the Heat team, right? I'm a Heat fan. Let's look at the Heat team. You got a lot of guys out there that aren't limited at anything. Like Duncan Robinson was driving to the basket, dishing dimes. And that's a guy that didn't fucking get minutes during the regular season. And he's making plays in the NBA Finals, one of our most important players to me in the playoff run. I've been begging for him to get playoff playing time. But anyways, that's what I'm saying with this Suns thing. I think liabilities on the court are highlighted much more in this era. So I know I spent a lot of time on that, but I'm going to spend more time on this next. No, I'm not. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes on it. Washington. So CP gets traded to Washington, and then Washington trades him to Golden State. I don't get the move. I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I said the first thing that came out of my mouth when I saw this was, what the fuck is going on with Draymond then? Right? So let's get into it. Washington gets Jordan Poole and the protected 2030 pick and a 2027 second round pick. Now, I think that protected 2030 pick is very important for Washington because, guys, I haven't thought Golden State was good in a couple years. I didn't think, dude, they won a championship, and I did not think they were good. I thought they were a decent team. I just thought the Golden State Warriors got a lot of breaks. I don't know. Ja's out there averaging 37 points a game. Jordan Poole jumps into his leg, all that. I'm not going to talk about it. But yeah, let's this Golden State trade for Chris Paul is very odd. I just with the fit of Draymond and Chris Paul, it makes no sense. And just the movement of this offense, the size of this offense, the size of this team, and the way they played defense last year was so bad. I don't know how Chris Paul improves that. Right? So you pull out a lineup with Chris Paul, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and what? Gary Payton Jr.? Kuminga? I know it's Andrew Wiggins, but if Draymond's gone, I'm saying, what do you have to substitute Draymond? Kevon Looney? You putting Looney on the bench? What's going on here? Because not all these pieces can fit. Is Chris Paul coming off the bench? Because I think that's your best option. I think that's what they're looking at here. Because I just don't see how Chris Paul can play 30 to 36 minutes for them. And throughout the regular season, Chris Paul's going to miss games. He's not going to play a lot. And if he misses 30, 40 games during a season, how are you going to build that chemistry with a guy who's very ball dominant, who runs off pick and rolls, and he's in this free flow, 4 out, 1 in, off ball cutting offense? At his age, I just don't know how he fits. Is like Steph going to run the 2 guard and then Klay's going to have to guard bigger guys at the 3? Like it's a very unique trade, and I hate the fit. I absolutely hate that trade. And I know we glorify like all these successful franchises. It's like every move they make, we kind of glorify it for no reason. Like they can develop anybody. Well, the Golden State, they have, Kuminga's going to be a superstar. Well, I don't know about that. Just because you drafted Klay, Steph, and Dre basically simultaneously, and they ended up being 3 Hall of Famers, you go and get some rings, but you added Kevin Durant after you lose as a 73-9 team. How are we looking at the Warriors as an organization if they don't go get Kevin Durant? Honestly, how are we looking at them? Because I think it's very interesting because we kind of put these labels on and these tags on these franchises. And a lot of shit, I don't think Golden State was a dynasty. I don't. And JJ Redick said that was one of the worst takes of the year. That isn't a dynasty. To me, a dynasty is keeping your core players and running it up. Getting 3 chips. They kept their core players, but didn't just add a guy. They didn't go and add Wiggins. They added a top 3 player in the world. What? If we rattle off 1 chip, lose when we have the greatest season ever, and then we add one of the greatest players of all time, one of the top 15 players ever, I can't consider you really a dynasty. So you can call it a dynasty. I just don't see it that way. Anyways, whatever. Jordan Poole, it was a very weird situation, and that's why I think Golden State's in a weird spot. I think they're in this turning of the tide, I call it. The changing of the tide where not everything is lined up how you thought it would be. It's a season where it ended kind of early. To me, I just thought they were horrible the whole year, and people just said they have championship DNA, which they do. I'm not denying that. It's just if you watched them play, you knew they were not a chip contender. You knew it. If you just watched basketball, all you had to do was watch a couple games. I watched probably 15 to 30 Warriors games. I know it's a wide range, but I don't want to say I watched 30 Warriors games. But, yeah, I mean, they just weren't good. They just weren't good. And they trade Jordan Poole, who only played 20 minutes in 3 games against the Lakers. And it was a weird spot where Steve Kerr gets on the Draymond podcast afterwards and starts kind of shitting on. You can tell he's talking about Kuminga and Jordan Poole, and I still think Kuminga's out there to get traded. I think he's going to get traded by the end of the summer. So they ship his ass to Washington, and I don't know what to think about the Washington. I think the Washington Wizards have conceded to trying to get the 1 pick next year for that like 6'10", 6'11" European kid that can ball. I watched his highlights the other day. He can hoop. I mean, Jordan Poole and Tyus Jones, I think that is the best duo of 6 men we've ever seen. And they are starters on a team like Washington who just traded Porzingis to Boston, where you see this weird thing where you're like, oh, they're on a fire sale, and they have Kyle Kuzma, who's an unrestricted free agent. Well, there's no way they re-sign him if they're fully in on a rebuild when he's asking for close to $30 million a year. The exact number was $30 million that he talked about. I think they're on a fire sale. I think they are not done yet. I don't think they're done yet making trades, trying to get picks and load up and try to trade up and get a top-tier pick in a draft somewhere. Even though that rarely happens in the NBA, or Sam Presti would have like 3 number 1 picks, you know. I would just say that Jordan Poole is a very good prospect. He's still a prospect to me. He's not a proven player. Once again, y'all may have a different mentality on this shit than me, but it's just like that Golden State team wasn't impressive to me 2 years ago. Just wasn't impressive. Wasn't. Or last year, my bad. I guess it's 2 years ago technically, but it just wasn't impressive to me. They weren't that good. And Boston have 2 superstars that fold in crunch time and probably will never win a championship ever. So I'm not really worried about them either in the East. But yeah, I think Jordan Poole's going to shoot 20 to 25, 30 shots a night. And he's going to have fun doing it. And I think he's going to regret how that situation went down, which wasn't his fault. And I know that we're harping on this whole Draymond knocked him out thing, causing him to play bad, which I hated. I absolutely hated that the whole season. I did. I think his role changed. I think he was relied on more. I think Clay was out for a little bit. I think Clay was inconsistent for a lot of bit, right? He had that little 2-month stretch where he was hooping, but other than that, he was very unreliable. Steph got hurt. Draymond was missing games. I think Jordan Poole was relied on more, and when you're relying on a player like Jordan Poole, you're not going to get great, efficient results. I don't think I had to do anything with him getting knocked out. I don't. I think he was out there trying to hoop, and he fucking stunk. I think the year before, he wasn't relied on. He was looked at as a spark off the bench, and that's what he did. He provided a spark off the bench and had free reign. But when the team is looking at you to not just be a green light shooter and shoot whatever you want, you're looking at a guy who didn't have to think while he was playing basketball. You're making him think while he plays basketball, and it's not going to work out well. Guys who don't think playing basketball, like J.R. Smith, are much better off just not thinking. Don't make guys who are free flow players think about basketball, or they will be ass. So that's that. All right, let's touch on this Porzingis trade to Boston. Think it's a great move for Boston. Marcus Smart goes to Memphis. I think I said this, and it's so funny. Me and Wob have the same brains. We tweeted it at the same time, or I texted it at the same time as Wob tweeted it. Rob Perez is one of the best Twitter followers you can have, so go follow him. I said, the Grizzlies got what Dylan Brooks thought he is. Like, he thinks he's Marcus Smart, but he's not. And Marcus Smart isn't some really good player. I hate to tell you, I don't think Marcus Smart is that good at basketball. I don't. Most professional basketball, I'm not saying he couldn't school me at the rec, of course. I just don't think he's that good of a player in professional basketball. I don't. I think he's a flopper. I think he thinks he's the hero of his team when he's on it, and I hope he takes a backseat to Ja when he comes back from the suspension. And I think that's what they were looking for, mostly after losing Tyus Jones. You want to bring in a guy who has a proven resume being a decent point guard in the NBA. I don't think he's a good point guard because he's not a true point guard in the sense, like I said, it's positionless basketball. Your ISO scorer is going to have the ball in their hands more than the guy who thinks he should be handling the ball like Marcus Smart. Even though I will say he shows up in big moments more than he did show up in big moments more than anybody on that Celtics team. But yeah, I think it's a great trade for both. Porzingis brings some versatility to the offense down low, which they needed, right? Like, Rob Williams is a lob threat on the inside, but even when the Heat were leaving him wide open in the Eastern Conference Finals, it looked like he didn't know what he was doing. Like, he didn't know how to get the ball. I don't know how to explain it. Like, he's sitting in limbo where he's wide open at the elbow, but he knows if he catches it at the elbow, he doesn't know what to do with it. And then he's in the dunker spot on the deep baseline, like not even in the post, kind of just sitting there in the mid-range, and he doesn't know when to cut, how to cut, all that. Porzingis has the ability to ISO score. He is one of the most efficient post-up players in the league. He can shoot high 30, 40% from three. And I just think it's a very good fit. But I also think that his health this year was very fluky. I don't think he can pull out another year of being healthy for 70, 60 games plus. Like, that's not his build, right? And we have seen that if he is not the star of the show with Luka, he's a second star. He's averaging like 18. It's not enough for him. He needs the ball. He wants the ball. I don't know if he's going to get the ball there. And his player option is 36 M's. Like, he ain't worth that money. And if he's looking for an extension, he's going to get paid a lot of money, and he ain't worth that money. He's not. He's been an 18-9, 18-8 guy his whole career. That's what Porzingis is. And I do think he can be a very valuable piece to that team. I do, because I think he brings a lot of different shit that they can do. Like, the pick and rolls aren't going to be just Robert Williams just running to the basket and nothing else happening. It's not going to be Al Horford being useless in the post, because they had these two drastically different players, right, with Robert Williams and Al Horford. Al Horford has become a spot-up shooter and a half-decent defender, and Rob Williams is like this paint protector lob threat. Now you have both combined in one. Al Horford's old as hell. Robert Williams, once again, just has no offensive game. I think he's a good rim protector, and I think Robert Williams is better in that backup center role. I think he's good enough to be a starting center in this NBA, but I also think he's just a better backup center with his energy and you have no drop-off in defense after Porzingis goes out, who is a fantastic rim protector, by the way. Porzingis' defense is not talked about enough. He's a very good defender. And I think Robert Williams coming off the bench as a lob threat and just an energetic guy is a much better role for him than being the main center on your basketball team. So that's really all for the trades that have happened. I'm just going to get into Miami a little bit. All right. I know y'all are going to skip through this. It's probably going to last like 5 to 8 minutes. This is my thing with Miami. I don't know where we go here, right? There's two options, and you pick one, right? So I looked up the free agent class and what the Heat could look for, okay? Because I'm thinking, all right, they're getting Dame or they're running it back. That's my mentality. They're getting Dame or running it back, and that's the only way I can see it playing out because there's nothing out there to get, right? Let's say Pascal Siakam wants to trade. Cool, we'll trade it for him, but seems like he wants to be back with the Raptors. So let's look at these free agents, right? I got Naz Reid. A lot of you listening don't even know who that is. Timberwolves power forward, pretty good player, very good with Karl-Anthony Towns out. But with opportunity comes boosted stats. And I don't know how good Naz Reid is actually, even though he was a Heat killer this year. You got Fred VanVleet. I don't want another small guard. All right, I got Gabe Vincent. I got Kyle Lowry. What are we going to do? Jeremy Grant. He's an empty calorie player, right? I think he's a decent player. He ain't that good, man. I don't know how he fits. I think he's a good fit for us, but what we need is size. He's not bringing size. You know, we're walking around. Our tallest player is fucking 6'9". We need some big people, and if we don't, we need a guy like Dame who can average 30. Malik Beasley. I like Malik Beasley. I think he's a 3-and-D guy. I don't think he found his role in the Lakers, considering they didn't shoot a lot of threes. He wasn't getting a lot of playing time posts, like the first, like, you know, when you get new pieces, you get a lot of playing time. Malik Beasley was out there for like 20 minutes a night for the Lakers there for a little bit, and then he kind of faded off because they didn't see anything with him, and he really just didn't fit there. These are all unrestricted free agents. Christian Wood, do we really want that in our building? I don't know if the Heat can whip him into shape. I don't know. Brook Lopez is still out there. I would love Brook Lopez. I just don't know how that works, even though I know he can stretch the floor. I think he is an under-the-basket player. I don't know how that works with Bam. You can bring up the high-low shit, but at the same time, you're looking at a guy who can't shoot, who really wants to work in the post elbow area with a guy who's a stretch. He can shoot the ball. Brook can shoot the shit out of the ball, but he's not some consistent. I don't want Brook Lopez sitting in the fucking corner in my offense, if that makes sense. Kuzma, with his pay tag, no way we go after him. Once again, doesn't bring any size and nothing special to our team and what we need. And George Niang, who I think he could get a pretty good deal in the offseason, considering I thought he was a big piece to the Sixers' success. I really did. When he came in on the bench lineup or when he played with some of the starters, he was really good, man. George Niang is a solid NBA player. He can shoot. He has no lateral movement, but with his size, it almost seemed like people weren't really attacking him with everything they had, if you get what I'm saying. Like, they're not just running after his ass on defense. And obviously, Jaime Jaquez went to the Heat. I've known his game. One of my best friends in the world, my brother, Michael Brinkley, is a UCLA fan. So I watch all my friends' teams so I can talk shit to them. I watch some UCLA games, and in the tournament, you can just tell that kid knows how to play basketball. It's not about how amazing he can be, but if you draft a guy at 18 and you just go look at his highlights. I'm not one of these Heat fan accounts who's going to project him to be a starter in a year. Like, I'm not one of those idiots. What do y'all think about this undrafted guy? He shoots 43. I saw fucking Heat versus haters, which I don't even hate. I don't even hate the Heat. I just hate fan pages in general, but he's like, I'm really liking this undrafted free agent who shoots 43% from three. He's like 6'2", and he's a spot-up shooter. Like, the fuck is that getting me here? What is that getting me? Duncan Robinson's 6'7", 6'8". Like, that, I can deal with a 6'8" shooter. I'm not dealing with a fucking 6'2". I'm trying to get Dame Lillard, bro. I don't give a fuck about this little white dude. All right? Oh, he's bringing the race card out. This, sure. But, yeah, I think the expectations, I told y'all months ago to wait till the summer for the Heat to make a move. We don't make moves at trade deadlines because it's quick. It's not thought out. During the summer, you have a lot of time to think. You got a lot of time to talk. You got a lot of time for Pat Riley to get that charisma in somebody's ear. Calling out, we're not taking calls on Dame. Well, I'm just letting you know I got this for you. Oh, well, Pat, why you keep calling me? I'm just letting you know, man. We got this, and maybe we'll even add some extra. Got all summer to do it. Dame can't get traded until 2 weeks from now. All right? He's had a lot of time to talk. He said he didn't want to be in a player movement with Dame. Right? A young player movement. I'm about to get to the Scoot Henderson Dame pick. I think you're looking at a good chance that Miami can get him. So let's transition to that. My expectation for Miami in the offseason is either run it back or go get Dame. That's it. They're going to re-sign Gabe Vincent, re-sign Max Strus probably, and I'm not okay with that, but they showed when we show up to shoot, and I'm not talking about the fluky ass, like, 58% games. I'm just talking. Guys, we saw this, man. We saw this against the Seas. Like, people wanted to call us a fluke because of our seeding, and I understand. I thought it was a fluke too, but you have to remember what we did last year. It's the same roster. Got a lot of guys out there that can shoot the ball, and when they get hot, and that's what happens. So that brings me to the Scoot thing, right? I wrote down some questions here. I just wrote down, like, what does Scoot mean for Portland really? Like, in actuality, not in a fantasy land, right? You just traded CJ McCollum because you realize you can't win with two ISO small guards. So you just rostered a young guy who you drafted at 3 overall, which shows you are willing to build you think he's good enough to build a franchise around. And let me tell you, Scoot Henderson is amazing. Scoot Henderson will have if he's healthy, I pray to God, all these guys say healthy, but I don't even believe in God. Pray to whoever. He will have an unbelievable NBA career. I think he's going to be a true superstar. I think he's going to be a real guy who's in the conversation for being the best player at his position in the league for a long time. A very long time. Yeah, I think he's great. I just don't know what that means for Dame. You can't run out two guys who are 6'2", man. You can't. Dame is already a liability on defense. It's not like I've sat here and watched film on film of defensive possessions on Scoot Henderson, but at the same time, there's no way a guy like Scoot can just lock up bigger guys. So you're either asking Dame or asking Scoot to be a primary defender on one of the best players in the league. And guys, and that's what happens every night. I mean, the best player on a fucking NBA team is one of the best players in the world. LaMelo Ball is one of the best players in the world. Cade Cunningham is good. I'm not. I ain't going to go that far. Jordan Poole? No, but you get what I'm saying, though. Like, when you go against real competition and get and are in those regular season games that feel like playoff games, you don't want that. You don't want Bradley Beal getting guarded by Scoot or Dame. You don't want Devin getting guarded by Scoot or Dame. That's a bucket. Like, you just don't want that. So I don't know how that works out. And then, if you're going to run it with them, Dame may ask out in the first 2 months of the season when they realize you're going back to getting another top 3 pick. So even if Dame ends up on this team for the season, I think he's keeping the possibility open, like, yeah, I'll ask for a trade in the middle of the season. I think he's asking for that because, and let's be fair, I'm one of the biggest Dame fans in the world. Like, that 9:30 game choice between the Clips, the Lakers, or the Trailblazers, I'm watching LeBron and I'm watching Dame. I got 3 screens. I'm watching Bron and Dame, and I got something else on the little one on my laptop. But I just don't see it working out, man. I think Dame gets moved. I think he does. I'm not saying it's Miami, and that's what I wanted to get into. Where can Dame really end up? I think there's 4 teams that you can actually look at as possibilities, right? With assets, Dame's intrigue in that, because I do think Portland is at the point where they're like, yeah, we're going to respect Dame and try to get him to a winner. But also, this is what I want to say when I was talking about Dame's one of my favorite players. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What do we take from what Dame Lillard says at this point, though? Honestly, right? He said the grind. He wants to grind it out. He loves Portland. And I respect all that. Loyalty over everything. All that bullshit he's talking, right? But when he comes out and he's on IG Live, like, I would love to play with Bam. I would love to go to Brooklyn. And then you say, I don't want to be with the young movement. I don't want to be with the young player movement. On the record, Windhorst said on the record, why am I crumping? On the record, Dame said, hey, I don't want to be part of a young player movement. Well, what's happening? What's happening there? Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe. What are we looking at? Is that not a young player movement? Is that not? And he says, if they build around me and make it, if they make moves to try to win, I'll stay. what part of trading CJ McCollum and having your best players be a dude who was unproven at the time, Anthony Simons, who was a nobody in the league, who I think is a good player, but I think the Portland Trailblazers are in this empty calorie territory, not for a guy like Dame. We know what Dame is, right? 55 points in the bubble against the Nuggets. Am I bringing up bubble stuff? Coming off his best season ever, most efficient season. I think that even shows how great he is, more so than anything else, is that what else are they looking at on the offensive end other than Dame? And he comes off his most efficient, best season, highest points, assists. Like, he is hooping at an all-time level right now. But if you think that I'm going to believe you when you stayed when CJ McCollum left and all you had is Nurkic and fucking Jeremy Grant and Nazir Little, like, what do you want me to say? I can't believe you, bro. I can't believe you. Now, I think Dame probably has 2 to 3 more upper echelon level tier play left. 2 or 3 years. That's about it. I think the same with Steph, but Steph's a little older than him, I believe. Well, I don't know, because he came out, his junior, senior year, and he was a little bit older, so they might be the same age. But this is where I think Dame could actually end up, right? So Brooklyn is a obvious landing spot for Dame Lillard. I mean, unlimited assets on that team, right? I believe Seth Curry's an unrestricted free agent, so you can't really trade him. But, I mean, dude, Mikal Bridges, I don't think you trade Mikal if you're adding Dame, but I'm just saying, Spencer Dinwiddie, now, you can think of what you want about Spencer Dinwiddie. He's a commodity in this league, and we've seen it. People want Spencer Dinwiddie on their team. The Wizards thought it would change the whole aspect of their franchise. Dallas thought he could come in and be a tertiary scorer with Jalen Brunson. Or after Jalen Brunson left, they thought he could take that role. Like, Spencer Dinwiddie's game is respected in this league. That's how I think a lot of people, you can sit there and have your Twitter NBA opinions or NBA Twitter opinions, but at the end of the day, a lot of these guys are respected in this association, and they are valuable. Dorian Finney-Smith, a very valuable player. Cam Johnson, asset. 3-and-D, 6'9", 6'10" wing. Got Nick Claxton, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate this year. All defensive team. Like, they have unlimited assets. A guy like Joe Harris can go play on any NBA team any day, and they have plenty of picks. I don't know. They just have unlimited assets that they can trade and get him, because I think it's funny how we get to this point where a superstar wants to be traded. Dog, when Donovan Mitchell got traded, where was the report of Cleveland? Where? Where was it? Where was the report of Cleveland? Nowhere to be found. Because, one, I think a point that is not touched on is how bigger markets move narratives. Oh, the Knicks are getting KD and Kyrie. The Knicks are getting Donovan. And it felt like a done deal that Donovan Mitchell was going to play in New York. But guess what? When a superstar is up for grabs, everybody wants him. You don't know who's calling that phone. When you hear these reports come out about Pat Riley on the phone with the Brooklyn Nets, close to getting a deal done with Brooklyn, that's crazy. And that is, Miami was in the talks, but we weren't at the top of the list with KD. But then you realize, like, everybody's calling for these superstars. They are top 10, 15, 20 best players in the world. Everybody's calling. That's why I think the next people on my list, sleeper, Toronto for Dame. Whoa. What? Fred VanVleet seems like he's been wanted out for about the last year or two. He's been, to me, always where there's smoke, there's fire, other than John Collins, apparently. Just like Zion. Like, Zion has been in trade rumors in and out since he got drafted. He was praying the Knicks got the first pick. right? They want this big market. And once again, that's them moving the needle on the narrative. But they have a lot of picks. The Raptors have a lot of picks. Fred VanVleet is a unrestricted free agent. And there is my dog's in here. Come on. This idiot. You'll sit right behind me. Can't even see her. She's been here the whole time usually. Can't even see her. But yeah, I just think that they have OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam made a weird statement. I thought the report was very weird. It wasn't that he wants to stay in Toronto, but he'd rather be in Toronto than go to a team who just wants to trade him. That was a weird report coming out. So, but I think you keep, obviously, the all-NBA guy and Pascal Siakam and then bring Damian. I don't think when teams are moving for this superstar, they don't want to move on from Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. They want to keep those guys and bring this guy in to take him over the top. You get what I'm saying? So I think the Raptors are there. I think the Knicks are there too. All right, listen. You can think what you want of that poverty-ass dog shit. And you know what? I didn't even care about the Knicks. I didn't care. They made the second round once in the last 40 years, right? I don't even know if that's real. I'm just talking shit. And they just talk so much shit, man. Like, all I see is this Knicks Muse bum sitting here behind his computer. He probably lives in, like, Kansas. It's like, I'm a Knicks fan. And he's just typing out shit. And whatever you think of that poverty-ass franchise, I'm not going to rant on the fucking shitty Knicks. I don't know where their fans came from. I know they're real, and that atmosphere is crazy in the playoffs, but goddamn, calm down a little bit when you're talking shit, bruh. They have a lot of assets, man. Julius Randle is a tradable piece. I hate to tell y'all, that is an all-NBA player. He's on a big contract. That is a movable piece. Then you add in IQ, Emmanuel Quickley. You got RJ. You got Quentin Grimes. You got Obi Toppin. You got Mitchell Robinson, right? And Mitchell Robinson, if you watch basketball, you know he's ass. Let's not go off that Cleveland series, right? I think Emmanuel Quickley is a player who could break out somewhere, man. I think he's a very good player. Tibbs had him on the burner for the longest and let him go this year. He's not a playoff player. I'm not going to lie. But if a team is looking to get some young, talented players, which it looks like the Portland Trailblazers are, they would go for an Emmanuel Quickley, a 3-and-D guy like a Quentin Grimes, an RJ Barrett, who, once again, whatever you think of RJ Barrett is fine. I probably don't disagree. I don't think he's the greatest player ever. He is a walking 20. He is a 20-point per game, 5-rebound, 5-assist guy in his sleep. That's the thing with these guys, dude. You have to realize how GMs are looking. Oh, RJ Barrett can barely drink alcohol if he even can. I don't even know RJ Barrett's age. And he's averaging 25 and 5. He's really 18, 19, but I'm just bumping him up to what he could be. And that's as a third option in the offense. Like, it's not like RJ Barrett was out there getting to cook. That's him being able to just pick spots in certain lineups where Julius is out or Jalen Brunson is out, man. And the Knicks are cluttered with guards. I think they need to move on and make Julius their third piece, right? Come in there with Dame, with fucking Jalen Brunson. Once again, I dislike the two mini guard set. But if he came to Miami, what else we got, right? All these people ain't got nothing but Brooklyn to really make a team. And obviously, let's talk about Miami. Yeah, he fits. He's a dog. He can hoop. And we need a point guard too. I don't know what Gabe Vincent is as a real starter. I don't know what he is as a real starter. I think he played great without Kyle Lowry in. But I also think his good play became great because we were so used to Kyle Lowry out there fucking everything up, man. Like, that's what I really think. And the Heat do have assets. I know we're sitting here and we're like, guys, we have to realize, hey, my team's been in the finals 2 times in 4 years. All right. 2 times in 3 years. No, it's 4 years. Yeah, because it was finals, sweep, Eastern Conference finals. So 2 in 4 years. And we have assets. All right, we do. Right? People are going to look at Caleb Martin. I know if he would have showed up in the finals, it would have been crazy, his trade value. I think we're going to keep him because he's cheap. But I think we could trade him. But I think we're going to keep him because he is cheap, knowing that if he goes to the open market in a couple years or next year, that he's going to get paid a pretty big bag. I think we're going to keep him. He was an essential piece of this team. He was a starting power forward. People forget before Kevin Love came. I did not like him in the starting forward position, but it is what it is. I thought his point of attack defense was horrendous for most of the season. I know that's a hot take for a lot of Heat fans. He was not a great defender this year until we got into the playoffs. I don't know why, but that's how it works. And I think it's because he was coming off the bench going in spurts. Now, I think we can bundle a package. Hero, Duncan, Jovic, 2028, first-round pick. Just fucking throw them all the white guys. Right? Throw them all the fucking white guys we got. Throw in Max Strus, too, if they want them. I don't care. Give them all the white guys we got. I think Tyler Hero's an amazing player. And I want to say this before we get done with this Heat shit and done with the pod. I think Tyler Hero's hate from his own fan base is insane. Right? You have to realize, I tweeted this, but you have to realize a guy that is 23 is averaging 25 and 5. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists as a 23-year-old who just started building muscle and getting for real how you see his game works. Like, you're just now seeing the potential of Tyler Hero. Did y'all realize that? He never went to the hole his first 3 years, 4 years in the league. He is now getting to the cup. He is now finishing at a very good rate. I don't know what to tell y'all, man. Stop the Tyler Hero hate, because guys like him, guys like Maxey, guys like that, those are dudes who can become third, second best options on championship teams. And you don't draft that. And we have 2 of those in Miami with Bam and Tyler. And one of them didn't play the whole playoffs except for one game. And he didn't even play the whole game. So, and I know that's where that hate comes from, because his playoffs last year were not great, right? Remember, he was hurt. I know I'm not here, like, I'm a Chris Paul guy too. I'm not here to make excuses for the dude, but he was hurt. This year, he doesn't play, and we go on this spectacular run, and now we're like, fuck Tyler Hero, we don't need him. Do you think we could have needed him in those 3 games we lost in a row to Boston where we're losing, and we just need a bucket, and Jimmy Butler loses all of his competitive nature through the last, what is that, 8 games of the season? He lost every ounce of competitiveness he had. You don't think we needed Tyler Hero to go get a bucket? You don't think we needed Tyler Hero in that fucking final series to go get a bucket? Are you crazy? Mostly in that game 5? Dude, if we win that game 5, you don't know what happens. That is the biggest game when you're down 3-1. I know it sounds stupid, but obviously if you lose it, you're going home. But you get that game 5, you go back home. You go back home when the role players balled out. And then you get a game 7 where anything can happen. You don't think we need a bucket from T Hero? You think we didn't miss that 20 points a game? I'm about to go on a Tyler Hero rant. And I'm a dude that'll pack his fucking bag for him if Dame's on the table. I'll pack his fucking bag and drive his ass to the airport for free. All right? For free. If a superstar is on the table. Don't get it twisted. That's all I'm saying, man. The hero hate is crazy. But, guys, hey, that was a great podcast. I'm coming back probably tomorrow with some fantasy football content, little video. Little video. I ain't got no teeth. I don't care. See, I told y'all, though. My teeth are way wider without the retainer, though. They look great. Right? So, I love you all. Thank you all for listening, for real, man. I'm back in the content game. I just had COVID, man. It ain't crazy. I couldn't fucking move out of my bed, man. Couldn't move. So I love you all. We out. Dude!